Hello and welcome to part 4 of my Operation Market Garden table layouts. This week I'm going to be showing you some photographs that I took after setting up my table on this mat actually for the Son Bridge crossing that the 101st Airborne made. Well, tried to make. Obviously it was the bridge that was blown, but the scenario as you can see, first port of call is the Warlord book campaign to Market Garden, and I take from that an idea of how to actually lay out the table. I mean, I use a bit of poetic license. I don't tend to stick directly to things. Obviously you can see where I've used my canal for that, and I have actually got the model by Sarissa of the Son Bridge and the watchtower. So this is the setup that I'm going to be showing you in a minute. This is as I say, it has set rules and forces and turn bases in the book that I don't necessarily follow when I play. I've read through it obviously, and I kind of make it work for me. And it's like a lot of things, if you were playing down a local club, you're going to adapt things to the resources you've got. But certainly I've used this book, when I've come up with the armies that I'm going to include, so obviously this Sphere Panzerjäger Abteilung army is straight out of this book, and also what I've been building up, with the exception of the vehicles, of my 82nd Airborne would be built to the army lists from this book, and obviously you can access them on Easy Army online. So I use that as my starting place. I take a bit of a clue to the layout from this. I also look at some photos of the real places, and look for things that I can incorporate from old documentaries and films that I've watched. Like I say, just so I can use my imagination and set up a table that works for me. And I can add a bit of variety. I mean, that is one of the few benefits of having a table, a table mat game. I can swap and change it around all the time. I can switch to a different mat. Obviously, if you were looking to recreate these on a fixed table, the overall look would be fantastic, a lot better than this, but you do lose that flexibility. So I still think having a game mat is definitely an option, that even if I had room for a permanent table, I would still keep these to use as well. Anyway, I've waffled on long enough. What I've done is I've set up the table, and I've taken a few photographs, just to give a feel of, how it's laid out. And then what I've done is I've set up some mock battles. Unfortunately, I haven't got anyone that I could play against at the moment. But I have stayed within the rules of, the game, equal armies, set them up and everything else. It's just not an actual game because I haven't got the facility to do like a commentary on a bolt action game. And to be honest, I wouldn't feel so sure of my understanding of some of the rules, and the last thing I'd want to do is mislead anybody by giving you wrong information, because it has been a little while since I've played any, but nevertheless I've set up some mock battles on it, and I've took a few pictures of that, and I'll show you that now. So that was my battle incorporating the US Airborne crossing the Son Bridge, or attempting to cross the Son Bridge. Possible future directions that I could take the market garden project in if I return to it in the future. I'm not planning on necessarily doing that right now because I'm going to be building more terrain this year. But nevertheless, with doing these setups so I could bring all of my market garden stuff together, it has occurred to me there's a couple of areas that I could probably expand on and build another scenario around. You'll remember from a recent video that I managed to patch together an 82nd Airborne, and I don't know whether you remember me mentioning that I'd actually got a Stacey figure of Major Julian Cook to lead them. And it's occurred to me that a really good scenario, if I not using this mat but probably using my plain green fields mat, I could probably build a table around the crossing of the Waal River in Nijmegen, and the ensuing battle around that, because there's different elements that I could bring into it. And what I was thinking, I could just do a bit of a dummy setup for you here now. The initial table layout, if you can imagine it being on a 6x3, 6x4 table. I've utilised this. If I produced a new canal or river, this is the canal but a river, just as a bit of a side issue, if you've seen this in the previous table setups, you can see that storage has not done it any favours. It's got a lot of creases in it, so it probably would straighten out over time. But I think if I was going to go for a table about the crossing of the Waal, I'd probably build a new river for it, and probably look to put it on a hard base in sections, because I think that would store better than obviously this one has. Obviously if I'd got more room, this could have been stored flat, but you can clearly see that it has had a bit of an impact on this. So if I was going to go in that direction, I'll just use this for now, of the wall crossing. I could have that as like the central part of the battlefield, and then I could utilise the tanks from my guards unit I don't know whether you remember, from the film A Bridge Too Far, that they basically set up a screening fire across the river to protect the 82nd Airborne as they were trying to cross. So I could actually utilise, I've got more of them obviously, I could utilise them for that. Mass a few of my squads of the 82nd, and then possibly, make up some boats or something that I could put on it and use them, I don't know, I'd have to devise some kind of system for crossing the river, what dice throws it'd be, how long it'd take, that kind of thing. That's something I'd have to think about. I mean, as I say, I'm not going to do it right now, but that, it would definitely work quite well, I think. So I could utilise the guards unit for that cover fire. Got the 82nd. Obviously, I've got my 2 generic German units that you've seen in the other setups. So they could be set over on this side of the river. And I could perhaps use a few of these, like as a shrub. I'll set it up over here so you can see it. Like a shrub area, and the Germans would be banked up behind this. Along here, on the opposite side of the river. Obviously, it'd have a bit of space there. So when they cross, they've got to get up here. And then on here, I could have the road system that would lead up to Nijmegen Bridge. And obviously for Nijmegen Bridge, I could probably modify or use my Arnhem Bridge. Let me drop a couple of pictures in just to show how this battle across the river would work. So, you can see that it'd be quite easy to pull together another battle scenario with this. All I'd need to be thinking about in the future, if I did return to this project, is coming up with a river, and preferably one that's going to store better than this one has. Some more shrubbery and tree work for the other side of the river. Perhaps a bit of a bank as well, even under the mat. So because obviously these were up on the ridge. And then some kind of boat system. So, I mean, that's definitely, something that I'll be thinking about, if I do return to it. And obviously there's several actions that took place that I didn't really, focus on when I was thinking about my market garden project. But through setting up all these different scenarios, it's given me ideas, for how I can expand on it, when I do return. And it's also, put up the limitations of this kind of river. So that's something I can think about, even when I'm, not necessarily building for market garden, but when I'm, like this year, planning on going more into terrain, I could think about the kind of trees and bushes and shrubs and cover that I'm going to need. And, I mean, they could be used in any battle, but if I could keep my mind on this, it'd be another crossover point that I could use for it. And obviously, what I'm planning to do is to feature all of the armies. So the 82nd, I think it'd be a good part for them to play on a battlefield, so that way all of my armies are getting involved in it. And I think it's like I said in the other one, I've not included armies, like I didn't include the Polish Airborne. I haven't included any of the local resistance, things like that, other elements that I could bring into this field. So, as I say, I'm not planning on returning to Market Garden as such, but certainly when I'm building some new terrain and some new trees and bushes and things, I can think about that as a crossover area for it. And like I say, I could then bring them all together, and who knows, some point down the line I could return to the Market Garden field. But that's the way I'm thinking anyway. So I just thought I'd share that with you as a, like a final part of this project. It's all up in the air. It's not something I'm planning on doing straight away, but I just wanted to share these thoughts with you. Right, I'm gonna wrap this one up now, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.